Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Gosh, she was this big, tall woman. I was like, she was so skinny and tall, and you don't see Kalmyk women that big. And, there's some here and there, but I mean, she just was regal and, always upright and had a regal posture. And it was just amazing to meet her, and you knew she was royalty.
So the Kalmyks would be very excited whenever the Queen and her would come to town?
Yes.
Okay. Rinpoche told us that he would remember that everyone would stand up when the Queen came, and he used to think, oh, why is that? Your family was actually quite close to Deva's family, right?
Yes.
So you grew up with her?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what she was like?
She's a lot like Bircha. She was always laughing and telling jokes and doing things. She didn't sing and dance, but she was always making small talk, and she was always laughing and just very a nice person.
Did she ever talk to you about Rinpoche being her son?
No, she denied that forever.
But everyone knew? Did everyone know that Rinpoche was her
No, not
son?
at the time, because it was a secret.
Okay, okay.
And nobody knew that till later.
So people knew that he was of royal lineage?
No.
They didn't?
No.
Oh, okay. So
that was a big secret. That was one of the reasons on the adoption, was to, keep it quiet. So the only people that knew were my parents and myself.
Oh, okay. In the whole.
Kalmyks are very good at keeping secrets.
But they would come often to visit him, right? What did you observe of the dynamics between Deva and Rinpoche?
There was not really any dynamic. She really wouldn't spend any time with him at all. Where the grandmother, she spent time and just would talk with him and do things with him. So basically, she's the one who would she would come drop him off, and then she would leave, drop her mom off, and most of the time was spent with his grandmother.
Okay, okay. She really loved him a lot.
Yes, she did. And she was a very nice person. She was easy to talk to, and very understanding. And she would, one of her things she would just say, "Oh, it's okay," but in Kalmyk, and there was never there was always a solution for something.
Did she spend a lot of time with you as well?
Oh yeah, that's one of the reasons that they wanted him to come there. She lived with us a long time. I mean, the visits would months or weeks and more, and both of them would come, and she would just spend a lot of time. So when the adoption came, it was not anything that was a shock, because they'd already been spending a lot of time with my family.
How did they get so close with Donna and Bircha?
I have no idea. It just happened.
So they were just always a part of your family, I guess, as you were growing up.
It's the same, the Torut, so they had the same tribe, and that just kind of helped. And also my father always used to say that, they had some, a little bit of royalty in his family too. So they call it Tsakan Yasun, which means white bones. So, he was supposed to be different than the regular Kalmyk.
Okay, okay.
So they had that connection together.
Oh, all right. So I didn't know that you had grown up with her so closely. But they didn't stay so close after Rinpoche came into the family, right? Because he doesn't remember too much about them after a certain time.
Deva wouldn't come that often, but the grandmother did. And, she would come and she would stay. And then it got to be too much, I guess, for Deva. She couldn't handle the situation.
And eventually the grandmother moved back to Taiwan, right? Did you know about that?
Yeah.
Do you know why she moved back?
No, I never heard why. I think her and her mom there was a lot of a conflict over Bircha, and she was still denying his birth and everything. So I think that kind of might have been the reason they did it, but that's only hearsay. I'm not sure.
So no one really talked to her about it, or tried to? Did your parents ever try and talk to Deva about Bircher being her son?
You didn't broach that subject with her. And plus you have to remember, you know, she's still the princess. And you don't do that. And we tried talking. I remember, you know, the lawyers had contacted her and everything, and she wrote a letter denying everything. So you couldn't really discuss that, and you had to, because of, you know, her royal status, they could only push it so far. So we never got the real story.
Did you stay in touch with Deva very much?
I tried, but then, you know, she just dropped off the face of the earth. And then I tried reaching her about 4 or 5 years. Well, no, my mother was still alive. So about 7 years ago, because the priest that she grew up with, and he was their mentor, was very ill, and he said he couldn't find her, and he wanted to get in touch with her again. And I tried looking for her. I Googled her, and I found the sons. I found the ex-husband, but I can't find any trace of her.
Okay. Do you know why they moved to America from Taiwan in the first place?
They were just here visiting, and then they just decided to stay. I know why they moved to Taiwan, because Adja told me that. They had been trying to have children, and the priest told them that they were not able to have children, and they needed an heir, and that if they moved to a foreign land, that they would then have children. So that's why they moved to Taiwan. And then when they got there, that they did have children there, and then it was too late to go back.
That means Deva and David Min.
Right.
Ah, okay. So she was actually born in Taiwan as well?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
They both were.
Did she ever talk to you about Rinpoche's birth father?
Never.
No, she never mentioned
She
him.
never talked about anything. She just, you know, she denied it. She just would not talk about it because it never happened.
Did she like living in America?
I think she did, but, you know, it was tough too, because when everything came out about Bircher, little Bircher, I think that kind of really affected her life. And she started hiding from the Kalmyks.
When everything came out, what do you mean by that?
Well, you know, when they found out that, you know, I mean, everybody knows now that Bircher is Deva's son. And when that finally came out, that's when, you know, she started going into seclusion, and hardly anyone ever saw her.
How did people find out?
Oh, Kalmyks talk a lot.
So the secret somehow got let out of the bag?
The secret always gets out. The truth always comes out, one way or the other.
And how did people react when they found out? Do you remember?
I just know about the family. I really don't know about the Kalmyk community. But for her, I know it was hard, because even after she had gotten married and had her other children, she would come with the other children and stuff. And you just never saw her after a while. She just kind of disappeared.
Oh. How did the family react?
Well, my father was disappointed, because he thought he wanted everyone to think it was his. Well, he wanted little Bircher to think that he was his biological father, but you know, everyone knew that he was being adopted, because he had the party and told everyone, but they didn't know about his birth, and he was saddened by that. And then I think my mother really didn't have an opinion about it, because she never really, you know, said one way or the other that, you know, it's all eventually going to come out anyway.
I guess she would have loved him regardless. Yeah. But did the relatives think it was a big shock, or?
Yeah, they were probably shocked.
Yeah. Did they gossip and talk about it much, or?
The relatives? No, because he was family. It was already accepted, and that's just part of life. And you're just already in the family, and you know, there's, oh, okay, you know, even now it's like, oh, he's still little Bircher. It's not, you know, you all have this exalted being, and we're just seeing him when he was still little.
I guess that's the last time you saw him. It's like when I met you, I expected to see an 18-year-old girl with long hair. Yeah. Because that's how Rinpoche talks about you, right? Okay, I just wanted to go back to asking you a bit more about the runaways. When he ran away, and I think probably the first person that Donna would have spoken to would have been you.
No, the first person they would have spoken to would be Gija.
Oh, okay. Did you ever hear anything from Gija or speak to Gija about it?
No, he never mentioned a thing. He never talked about things. He just went in, took care of the situation, resolved it, and then he was not one person. He wasn't a person to go around talking or gossiping or anything like that.
What did she say to you when she finally talked to you? Can you remember exactly what she said?
She was upset that he had run away, and that's when she had started, you know, having doubts about whether she was doing a good job as a parent, and, you know, she was starting to have doubts about that, because first, you know, I run away and then he runs away, and that kind of puts seeds of doubt in her mind, and it was quite upsetting to her, because they thought they were doing okay because they didn't know any better.
Did she express any anger when she was talking to you?
Sometimes, yeah.
Can you remember what she had said?
No, I can't remember what she said directly, but I know she was really disappointed and upset, and that was not the life she had foreseen for him. She wanted him to get married and have a family, and everyone, you know, come visit each other and just have the get-togethers like we had the get-togethers for lunch today. That's what, you know, she was looking forward to as my father, because that's basically how, you know, life is. You have your family, you all get together, and you just enjoy each other. So she wasn't going to have that, so that was disappointing.
For her, yeah. Was she worried about him being away on his own?
I think she was, but, you know, she never really expressed it, because I wasn't physically there for her to talk about. So I'm not sure exactly who she spoke to about that. That was something she never really talked about.
And what was things like after he'd left? What was Donna like? And what was life like, I guess, after he had left?
Well, she was upset because she was blaming him, Bircha, and he was blaming her. And Big
Bircha, you mean?
Big Bircha, yeah. And they just kind of were not very happy people.
After Rimouchi left?
Yes.
And
my father was devastated.
And that went on for a while?
Yeah, I think so. I up until the day he died, he thought of him.
Oh, okay. But he never verbalized it to you, did he?
No, he wouldn't do that. That's losing face and not, you know, he was a male, and he needed to you know, put on the good face, and he wouldn't do that. So that's a sign of weakness.
Yeah, and he was very concerned how people saw him. So Rimouchi's absence was very much felt in the home. Do you know if Donna felt lonely in her older years?
No, I don't think so. She had her sisters, and she had her older sister Elena, and they did things together. And I think she kind of liked she was not lonely. There was always people there. So, you know, it was like a revolving door, people coming and going, people coming and visiting. And then she'd have the quiet time for herself, and then, you know, do her chores, and then there was always someone coming. She was probably a little bit lonely. It probably would have been better for her if she had moved out here, but she refused to do that.
Okay, I guess all her life was there.
Yeah,
then, right?
And she didn't want to leave it. And I said, well, you can always come back and visit. And she's like, no. And I said, well, you can spend time with your grandchildren. And it's like, no, she's going to stay there, and she's going to die there. And that's exactly what she did.
Yeah. You know, there was this one trip where Rimouchi came back to Howell before he left for India. Did your mother ever talk to you about that after he had left?
No, the only thing she really mentioned was that he had come in and brought her some flowers, and she was so excited, and she was very happy.
But she didn't say anything about how he was going to be a monk, because she must have been very happy to see him. But then,
well, we already knew he was going to be a monk when he ran away. That was, you know, that was already in the cards. That was already foreseen, so it was not a big shock.
Do you know if they spent much time together when he came back, and what they would have done before he left?
I have no idea.
Just the flowers.
That I don't know. That was something between him and Mom.
Okay. Do you know if he stayed with Donna and Bertram before he left?
I don't know.
Where he stayed?
You need to ask him.
Okay. Also, did they ever know the real reason why he ran away?
No, I don't think so.
No?
No, because they never understood it.
Hmm.
They just never understood it, and they couldn't fathom why he would do that, because here he's got a nice house and he's got nice clothes and he's got plenty to eat, has a roof over his head, and they had no inkling. They weren't able to understand things like that. Mm-hmm. And they both died and they still didn't understand it.
Oh. Did they ever kind of blame themselves then?
No, my father blamed my mother, and then my mother had the seeds of doubt and thought that, maybe she was doing something wrong, and so she never really got an answer to it. So it's never been resolved.
Okay. It's, Rinpoche stressed many times that it was not because of the abuse or any of that. It was really because there was an opposition to him studying Dharma. And there had been some conflict at the temple, and I think he didn't want any situation to hurt his teacher or even to hurt Dharma back. So he left to a place where he could practice Dharma, because the drive was so strong in him to practice Buddhism. Yeah. And okay, on that subject as well, do you remember? I touched on this a little bit before, like whether you remember anything different about him in terms of Dharma and in terms of Buddhism. And you were telling the story about how he sat with the monks. Do you remember him doing things like teaching people to pray, or he would do these?
No, I wasn't there. When I was there visiting, 1 to 2 weeks, it was just, we do stuff and go places and do things and just basically have fun. So there was really no time for that, and that's probably something that he did when I wasn't there. Because when I was there is probably when he felt safe.
All right.
Because they wouldn't do anything bad.
When you were around?
Yes.
And you would come back for how long each time?
About a week or 2 weeks, just depending on the situation. When I started coming with my children, then I would come for like a month at a time, so that the children could learn and spend time with their grandparents.
But I guess that would have been after Rinpoche left.
That's right.
Yeah. Because Rinpoche would tell us stories about how he would make pendants. I think I was telling you yesterday. He would paint Buddhas and make paper pendants for his cousins and tell them, wear this around your neck, it will protect you. And he remembers as a kid, he would pretend to write scriptures. He would just like write gobbledygook, just like random stuff on long strips of paper like they do in the Tibetan traditions. And so he would make up scriptures, and then he would sit on a bed and pretend to give teachings to an imaginary audience. And he would wear a bed sheet around his shoulders and pretend that he was the Dalai Lama. And he would flip the robes. And he was so funny. He'd tell us that he would pretend that he would kind of make the robe slip off so that he could like do it again.
Yeah, because the priests did that a lot, the monks.
And he would and he said, nobody told him to do that. It was just something that he really liked and was naturally drawn to. Did he ever bring you to the temples and go with you? No. Okay. Do you remember anything that was, Dharma aside, anything that was different or special about him in terms of this little kid? Was he different from other kids that you saw?
No, he was happy and he played with the other children, and no, he was just, I always saw him, he was smiling and laughing and doing stuff, so he just blended in with the other children. He did really well with other kids. Okay, yeah, he assimilated quite quickly. Yeah. Learned English very quickly. Yeah. Do you know how I guess he just picked it up, or do you remember him learning in any special way? TV is a great educator. So, Sesame Street, So you learn a lot from just watching TV. A lot of people who come over here from Russia or Europe spend a lot of time in front of the TV, and that's how a lot of them learn English.
Yeah. Do you remember him liking Wonder Woman?
Oh yeah, there was a big poster of her.
In his room?
No, it was in the garage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Linda Carter.
Yeah. He's still, sometimes we go over and hang out with Rinpoche, and we'll be having a serious meeting, and we'll be talking about different things in the organization. Then he'll say, "Oh, I must show you this video of Wonder Woman that I just found." So we'll sit there and we'll watch some Wonder Woman before we talk about, continue with our meeting.
That was a big show at the time, and it was really good. And it was, I liked it because it was a woman who was in power.
Yeah.
And she kind of showed that, yes, women can do this. So, and she did some pretty spectacular, not much, with the fighting and with her little tiara and her little bracelets and everything, fighting evil. So that was something new for the era.
It's sometimes when Rinpoche talks about her now, he says she's like Tara. Because she's like girl power.
Yeah, well, she was the first one.
Yeah.
She was the first one.
Was there anything you remember that Rinpoche particularly liked as a kid?
Besides water.
Besides what?
Water. Swimming.
Oh, yeah, swimming.
Going to the beach.
You would go to the beach?
Uh-huh.
Oh, which beach?
In the summertime. There were several. It just kind of depended. Usually it was the Point Pleasant Beach, or sometimes the Belmar Beach, rather. And just, go play in the sand and go in the water. That's something that the family always did. All the cousins would get together and we'd go to the beach.
Oh, so I didn't know that he liked being out and about, because Rinpoche doesn't like the being in the sun and being on the beaches now anymore. I think because he burns very easily, because he's got very fair skin as well. Were there any things like particular, like cartoons or music that he liked as he was
Donna Summers. Was really into disco. Was always Donna Summers, everything, singing her songs, and just he liked the whole disco generation. Loved all the music from there, and acting out and singing all the songs and having fun.
Would he perform them for you and your mom as well?
Oh yeah,
those songs.
Yeah.
How cute! Did he get you to sing along with him?
No, we just watched and laughed and giggled because it was so much fun. Because, he'd make those funny faces he makes.
Yeah. He still does that now, too.
Yeah.
And he still impersonates people. It was very funny.
He's very good at it.
Okay, we wanted to ask you this. We went to see the house on 3rd Street, West 3rd Street, but we couldn't get in because the people that were living there were never in for the few days that we were there. Would you be able to give us an idea of what the house was like the layout? Can you remember? How was it like?
I can probably draw it out for you.
Could you?
Yes.
Okay, that would be really cool. We got an idea of the bottom because we took a picture, and we have pictures, so Rinpoche would tell us okay, this window was this and that, but if we could get an inside plan, that would be really great. Okay.
Yeah, upstairs was 4 bedrooms and a bathroom, and downstairs was a very large living room, kitchen, dining room. Then there was a little family room, and then another little room that they called the study room and a bathroom.
Okay. And they built all this themselves, right? With their own hands?
Yeah, well, what happened is the Kalmyks are very good builders. So after work and on weekends, everybody would come over and everybody would pitch in and build the house. And that's how they built each other's houses.
Oh.
It was a community effort.
Pretty amazing.
Kind of like the Amish have barn raisings. Well, they had house raisings.
And they're really solid houses, huh? They've been there for 30 years.
They will not, that house will not ever blow down. That house has so many nails in it that it can withstand anything. And the only problem that happened with that house in that whole time was one of the stairs to the basement kind of gave out a little bit, so it kind of moved. So all you have to do was push it back into place and re-nail it, and it was fine. That house is really sturdy.
It's really solid, huh?
Yeah, it's solid.
And we heard that Donna really loved gardening as well. She always had these roses around the front.
Roses and vegetable gardening. She was a great vegetable gardener as well. But yeah, roses were her passion. So usually for her birthday or her Mother's Day, I would send her, you know, everybody sends their parents, you know, or mother, you know, a flower arrange. You send her bushes, a rose bush here or a different thing, and you know she liked. Sent her cherry trees and lilac bushes. So she basically liked anything.
She was really active.
Yeah, and she loved roses. So she had so many different kinds. She'd have like the climbing ones, the shrubbery kinds, and then she had this one that was like a topiary at the front door on each side of the door, and one of them got hurt in a storm, and she kind of put it back together and sewed it all up so that, and it took back together and kept growing. So it was pretty amazing. She was a great gardener.
She had quite a magic touch, huh? It seems everything she touched.
Yeah, she was really good. Yeah, she had great vegetables.
So as you were growing up, did you have to do the garden as well as part of your chores? Yeah.
But I didn't mind it. In fact, I do it now. In fact, I did all my gardening here in the front and the back this year, which is the first time in a long time, because I really felt that I could do it. And it was like channeling my mother, and it's like every day I was out there, you know, 10 hours. And the weather was nice, so it was perfect. So I planted all the bushes, built all the little rock walls, and it was just like, you know, being my mother.
You remember she told us in detail how you'd have to wheel over like the soil. You had to do all that and plant everything exactly, like very neat, because she was very tidy, right? Yeah, but
you had to get the mix right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I learned quite a bit, and so I've done that. So I like gardening too when it's not hot out. But it gets hot here, and then by the time the end of summer comes, everything dies off as part of summer. So then you start all over again the next year.
But the garden's not there anymore. They don't have any flowers out the front anymore.
Well, as soon as the new people moved in, they ripped out all the bushes immediately.
Oh. So, did you know the people that the house was sold to?
We didn't know them, but you know, I worked on the closing, and he worked for the U.S. Army at what is that over there? That's Fort Monmouth, and he had his mother and his mother-in-law living with them, and they had 2 small boys. So they ripped out almost every single plant.
That must have hurt to watch.
Yeah, the neighbors were really upset because they said if we had known that, we would have taken the plants. Yeah, because most of those roses were really old,
and they would have known how much effort had been put into maintaining that garden.
Yeah, some of them were really old heirloom roses. I mean, those you can't get many of those anymore. And the smell, the thing about heirloom roses is their fragrance is so, it just smells so wonderful. I mean, just one rose can just smell up a whole room, where it's so fragrant, where the roses nowadays don't do that. So heirloom roses are really hard to come by. So you went just not by the color, but the smell too.
Oh, okay. Just before we filmed just now, you were about to tell Sharon about some stories about spirits that Donna had told you. Can you tell us a little bit about what she shared? About what she saw?
Oh, she was scary. Yeah, she saw things other people didn't see, and she felt things that other people didn't see. And the land that the house is on has been blessed, and there are special blessed stones in all 4 corners of the lot to keep the area safe. That's why the house was always so comfortable, because it was blessed. And it was homey and it was comfortable. And even though you have all that stress, though, I always felt safe. I felt secure because of that. And so we didn't have too many sightings at the house because of that. But especially during the war, she saw a lot of spirits because of all the deaths and things like that. So.
And she would talk about it with you?
Sometimes, not a lot, because she didn't talk about a lot of that you know, just like here, she didn't go into really much detail, but she said she would see things and she wouldn't want to scare me. And when she got older, you know, she would talk about, you know, this and that she thought, you know, she had to get out of the house because the spirit of my father was coming to bother her and things like that. So it's kind of...
She would feel that?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So she was actually, she had quite an intuitive spiritual side to her, I guess. Yeah.
It's something that's genetic.
Yeah, I can understand that. Do you have those experiences too?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But I kind of blocked it out when I was very young. Now Julia is psychic, but she refuses to take it any further. So I'm sure that her little imaginary friend was a spirit. So when she was young, and I do have a spirit in this house. So, but we're friendly. We've lived together all this time, and it's working out well.
And sometimes they're just there, like they don't want to harm you or anything.
No, sometimes they do. We had a lot of that spirits with my grandmother, come to think of it, when I was younger after she passed away. No, my great-grandmother, which was my mother's grandmother. So she was haunting us quite a bit.
In Philadelphia?
No, in New Jersey. This is before we had the house built. I must have been about 14. And she was always doing something, so we had to have a big service done for that to kind of appease her and get rid of her, because she was always trying to kill me. And it was, you know, things that were bolted to the ground would unbolt and fall on my head. And then it's like my mom's like, okay, we got to call the baksha. It's like, okay, so find out what's going on. And I was having strange accidents. And she had such an intense love for me because basically, you know, I grew up with her. And when she passed, I guess she wanted to take me with her. But so they stopped that.
This was the great-grandmother that you traveled from Germany to America with, right? Okay. So you would have known her for some part of your life, I guess.
I knew her my whole life.
Your whole life. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and when I moved to New Jersey to be with my parents, she came with us too.
Oh, okay. So she lived for quite a while after you moved.
We lived together.
Okay.
And then when she got older and started getting diabetes, we used to have arguments over candy, because she'd always steal my candy, and I'd get upset.
When you first moved to Howell, you were not living in that house yet, right?
No.
Where were you living then?
We were living in this little house on Highway 9, and it's not there anymore. And it was not very big. It was only like 2 rooms.
Was that something that was built as well, or you had rented it?
No, they rented it.
Oh, okay.
It was not much of a house. I mean, it was just like a little cottage. It wasn't even a cottage. It was, you know, not much there at all. But I do remember having a dog, and it was a German Shepherd and riding on it. And she was a good dog. Her name was Halted.
As well?
Yeah, all the dogs are named Halted. And she was very protective, and I enjoyed playing with her, and she was my best friend. And we moved from that house. They bought a house. They saved up enough money, and they bought a house on 3rd Street, which was the little house. That's
the one that the nun Carmen is living in now, right?
But it didn't look like that because they remodeled it.
They changed it, yeah.
So then we moved into that house, and there was 2 bedrooms, a kitchen and a living room and a bathroom, and then the little area too with all the utilities like the water tank and things like that in there. And we lived there a long time till I was probably about 15, and when the big house was built.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't too long built before Rinpoche came.
Yeah.
Okay. And did they build the first house as well?
No, they bought that.
Okay, okay. And then they built their own big house.
Right.
Well, so they must have planned it quite well to know exactly what they wanted, and because it was a big house, wasn't it? Okay.
And, you know, they both worked very hard and saved money, and I know my father would sometimes work 2 jobs.
What did they do? Do you remember what your mother and
toward the end of her life, she was a custodian at one of the elementary schools, and she did that with a couple of elementary schools. So she got paid well, and she really enjoyed it, and she worked in the afternoons. And then my father retired, but then he was working for the school district, and sometimes they'd call him to help with the buses, so he'd go and help with the buses. So here he just would help whenever he could, whenever they needed help. And then he also did, he worked as a guard for the Channel Company, and he worked for a long time with Lily Tulip, which was a cup company, and he was in charge of their laundry services. So he had, you know, you had to take care of the uniforms as they came in and they came out and stuff. So that kind of, he had several different
jobs.
Over the years.
And do you know what their families were like back in Yugoslavia and Russia? Like, it must have been difficult for them to have to come and do like such hard menial work when they first came to America?
My mother's family lived on a huge farm, and they were very well-to-do. And they had a nice house, and they had farm workers and workers working on the farm. And she remembers that with all the animals and the geese and the ducks and everything. And my father, you know, he had to leave Russia when he was 9. So up until that point, you know, he was treated like the prince. And, you know, he was the heir, and then he had to leave his whole family, so his whole life was basically destroyed. And then his whole family was killed in Siberia.
He was the only one from his family to have left?
Yes, because his father wanted him to survive, and so he had him shipped out with some relatives that were leaving Russia.
Okay, okay.
So he didn't have a choice in the matter.
So when they got to America, the only kind of work that was available for displaced persons at the time would have been like quite, I mean, with respect I say this, like quite lowly jobs.
Yes.
And
blue collar. It's called blue collar.
Jobs. But I guess it never deterred Donna, huh? I heard she had several jobs as well. She would hold several jobs. Do you remember who it was who was the main breadwinner? Because we had heard that it was Donna was the more hardworking one.
Well, it depends. Toward the end of her life, she was the main, when it comes to money. She always worked hard, because she had to work hard in order to make the money. And at the end of her life, you know, she had the custodian jobs, and she got paid very well for that, and had a lot of nice benefits. So that was really good. But they both worked really hard. I know some of the relatives didn't understand all of the ins and outs, and they think that my father was, you know, he didn't do anything. Well, he didn't do anything around the house, but, you know, he's just a Kalmyk man, but he went out there and he worked. I remember him working 2 jobs and, you know, leaving early in the morning and not coming home till, you know, 10 o'clock at night, go to sleep and get up and do it again. So it just depends on what point of their life that you're looking as, you know, monetary-wise, on who was who was bringing home the bacon, who made more money. But they both worked hard.
Well, they got to a point where they were quite comfortable, right? Because they were also able to be very generous with the rest of the family.
Yes.
And we were told by Lizzie and Susie that it was really your mother and Bertha who had brought them up as they were growing up, because they had lost their mother. So do you remember that part as well, growing up with them?
Yeah. My parents basically, you know, supported them and, you know, took care of their medical bills and things like that. So that was like an extension, you know, of the family, but that's what you did.
And they told us that even special holidays, Donna would always make sure that they had something. Yeah. So did you grow up together with them, or were you a bit older?
No, I was a bit older, but yeah, we grew up with them. What happened is after their mother left, the rest of them were older, and Susie was just a baby. So my aunt, Totya Lena, took Susie, and we took Lizzie. She's a year older, and to take care of them. So yeah, they grew up with my whole mother's side of the family.
Oh, okay. That's why I guess that they are very close to Donna, even though they're actually from Bertha's side of the family. Right. Okay. Okay.
It was, you know, just an extension of the family back then. And, you know, cousins are grew up like brothers and sisters, and your aunts and uncles were like your parents as well. So that's just kind of a bonding. And Sarah has that in her her life with her brothers and sisters, where they all take turns with the kids and spending time with them, and just basically, you spent time with the children. So I spent a lot of time with all my relatives.
That's nice, huh? Was it in any way kind of claustrophobic as well? Like everyone knows everyone's business, no?
No, that's how you grew up and you were used to it, and it was a big, loud, noisy family. That was just how it was.
The wonderful parties that we heard about, yeah. Well, they still do them now, I think. Maybe not to such a large extent, but they still do them.
Yeah, basically for holidays or some kind of event.
Yeah. And a lot of the events would be held at the temple as well, wouldn't they?
Not in the temple itself, because you didn't do that.
Okay.
There was no singing and dancing in temple. There wasn't a facility in the very beginning in order to have like a little get-together. And the get-togethers, when they built the new building in back, this is a Rashi Gempling, when they built that new building in the back, then they were able to have more functions in there, because it wasn't the inside of the temple was sacred, so
yes, of course.
You didn't do that. But when we got the that extra building, then they could be visiting, but there was no gambling and no drinking allowed
within the temple, of course.
On the grounds.
Was religion a bonding factor as well for the Kalmyk community? Like, would they go to church as a way of staying together? And was religion something that held them together?
Well, it was probably part of it, but religion was just part of the whole culture. I mean, you never really got away from it. It's like the holidays, and depending on what time of month it is, and checking out the moon cycle, and I mean, it's just the whole part, and it would all basically revolve together. And it's like, okay, the crazy people's out there. It's the full moon right now, and that was like, you just basically lived that way. And if there was something wrong, you went to the priests and to see if it can be corrected, and they would correct it, and then you just, got on with life.
There were some people who were telling us, some of the friends that we interviewed, they said it was Lizzie and Susie, I think. They were saying that when they grew up, their father was a healer, and a lot of kids would not go to normal Western doctors as they were growing up. They would go to these healer doctors
He
in
was
the
good.
community.
He fixed my toe several times.
Oh, what did you do to your toes?
I heard it, and he just he would take it. He had these hands where he could manipulate it, and he could feel stuff and then put it back into place. So he was really good at that. And I remember one of my friends said, oh gosh, their arm got frozen and stuck in this position, and he was driving around all over town looking for my uncle so that he could get it back down. And then he worked on it, and then he manipulated it, and he got it back down. Yeah. That was a natural ability that he had.
Dude, we heard that. He was very well known among the Kalmyk community. A few wrap-up questions. What are some of your fondest memories of Rinpoche?
His entertaining.
His entertainments?
Yeah.
His little shows?
His shows. Yeah, I really enjoyed those, because he was just so happy. I mean, and, making some faces and then going on into the next little act and stuff. And that was really sweet. And he loved his animals.
Oh, yeah, he had them all the way. Was he like that all the way up until his teenage years?
Entertaining? Yes.
And happy? Yeah.
I think so.
You don't remember him being sad, really, do you?
No.
No, he was always a happy kid.
Yeah, I never saw the sad part.
This is what a lot of all the relatives said, that in spite of what was going on, you would never guess it in a way, because he was always happy to be out. Okay, if you could describe how you remember him in 3 words, what would the 3 words be?
Well, one would be happy, smiling, and twinkling.
Oh, that's
His
nice.
eyes always twinkled.
Do you remember him being a bit of a trickster? Did he ever play pranks on you?
No.
No?
No.
He does with us sometimes.
Well, I was I was the older sister, so he didn't do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess not. I mean, like yesterday when we went through the little book with you, and you've seen, I guess, what's going on the websites and all that. I mean, how does it make you feel when you see all that he's doing now?
I think it's fabulous for him to be able to do that. He's found his calling in life.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, how do you think he's turned out considering he hasn't had therapy?
He has had therapy.
Yeah,
he's got his guru and his teachers. So that was his therapy. They instructed him it's the same thing, except you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, actually, that's something. I was just talking to him the other day, and he knew that we were coming out, and he said to me, you know, you'll never know the extent of what I had to go through and what Lidshma had to go through, but he wanted me to let you know that he has healed to a greater extent than we can imagine as well. And he said he's okay now. He's okay.
He's not there yet.
Why?
He has one more hurdle.
Well, what do you think that is?
He needs to talk to me.
Okay.
When he's ready for that.
All right.
That's his last hurdle. I think that will help resolve things for him. You know, all this talking and that you're filming it and everything, it's not the same as when you actually sit down and look at the person and then actually talk, and then you can be at peace at that time.
Okay.
He's not there yet. He doesn't know it, but I know it. And once he gets to that point, then things will be so much better
For him.
He'll have freedom. You're feel lighter. It's something that's been resolved. It's something, a heavy burden that's on you, and that it's been lifted up, and you can do so much with it afterwards when that burden is gone. And he still has a little bit of the burden.
Okay.
I know it's there. I can feel it.
I think maybe one of the reasons I will never know the extent that what Rinpoche goes through is that when he does talk to us about it, there is no sense of resentment or that he's clinging on to any of the pain when he talks to us about it. And to us, I mean, I told you a little bit over the phone that it's very inspiring to us and very real to see how he's actually transformed so much of that experience and confronted it and overcome it to become so extremely beneficial to so many people in the world by his own experiences. So to me, I believe that you know, that Rinpoche has come a very long way.
Yes, he has.
And healed in a way that I think many people would not have been able to heal.
But you have to also remember that out of the dirty, dark water comes the lotus.
Yes.
And you can't have that beauty unless you've had that suffering, and you have to go through it, because I am very content. If I passed away tomorrow, I'd be very happy. I have no regrets. I'm satisfied with things. I'm content, and I'm preparing for that, for when my time comes to actually enjoy it, and be able to feel really free, because there's nothing in the world like that. So basically, I've had it all taken care of, and I just have to wait for the the physical and the spiritual and everything in the whole process to happen. But you have to have the pain, and you have to have the suffering in order to get the extreme delight and happiness. That's just how it is. It's yin and yang. You have to do that, and it makes you stronger, and you have to be able to come through it.
It's I mean, we've known Rinpoche to be an extremely strong person. I mean, from the moment I've met Rinpoche. And I mean, as his students, we of course recognize and believe Rinpoche is a very highly attained being, and he's not just like me and the rest of us. And we believe that Rinpoche would have chosen it to come into life where it is very difficult. and it's not an accidental thing for
No,
him. Yeah.
he decided, just
Yeah.
like I decided to do this, and there's a reason that you have to do it.
Yeah.
You've made that decision, and everyone makes that decision. Whether you're a member of the Holocaust with all those poor people, you decided for that life, and you decided to do that. So you just make the best of it, and you just have to persevere. And if you're not strong enough to do it, then you probably wouldn't have chosen that life. But there's a reason for you in your whole cycle of things that happen to you, and it's a learning process. Each time you learn and you get better and better at it and understand more and more. So I'm not done. I'm far from being done. So I still probably have a lot more to learn, but I've gotten some things settled where next time around I'm really able to really delve and learn.
When Rinpoche was recognized as a high incarnated Lama, do you remember how you heard about the fact that he was now a Rinpoche and now?
Oh, Sada told me.
So Aunt Sada?
Yes, Sarah. No, Sarah.
Oh, Sarah told you?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, her Kalmyk name is Sada.
Sada, yeah.
So, yeah, she had told me.
How did that make you, how did you feel when you heard the news?
It happens all the time, so it wasn't anything out of the ordinary, because that happened, that happened several times in my lifetime of growing up, where someone is, they discovered that. So it's kind of, that's their path, and you don't feel happy, but you don't feel sad. You're just accepting.
Was it surprising that this was your younger brother and that he was a High Lama? No.
No.
Did it seem to be something natural
Yes.
that he would go towards?
Yes.
Okay.
He was just following his road.
Mm-hmm. You might be interested to know also that there were many confirmations, as they do when they recognize someone, many High Lamas and many divinations, and finally also the Dharma protector, who is a fully enlightened being, took trance through an oracle in the monastery and confirmed Rinpoche's incarnation status, which now is his official seal and his official status. And within that, it was acknowledged that Rinpoche is a Mahasattva, that's what they call, which is a very, very high level being, and a level of what we call a bodhisattva, which is that these beings are at such a high level that they choose to come back to benefit the sentient beings, and that they could be anyone from a high priest to someone, to a homeless person, and they particularly they actually look for difficult situations so that they can help people who are suffering at the lowest levels.
Yeah, I agree, and I understand that.
Yeah, and we see that very much in what Rinpoche is doing, because he's now teaching Dharma in a place which is very difficult to teach Dharma. It's not a Buddhist country, and Malaysian society is not the most spiritual society, and he's had to go through so much, and it's extraordinary how much Rinpoche has had to go through and is still persevering on this path. Because a lot of the problems didn't stop after he left America. There was a lot of poverty to contend with in India. When he came to Malaysia, the lay people were not nice to him as well. They mistreat the monastics quite badly in Malaysia.
But he had good training to
Yes,
handle
he did.
that.
And, with Rinpoche, someone could beat him right down and he'd get back up and start again. And he has told us before two things: that if he had to do it all over again, he would, because it has made him who he is today. And secondly, so because he really understands, what people go through. And the second thing he said is, if now, today, everything was taken away from me and I had, someone beat me down, he said I'd just, I'd be a little bruised, but I'd get out and brush myself off
and keep
start
on
all
going.
over again. And I know that Rinpoche would. Yeah, so.
Yeah, we both have that same feeling. It's once you've gone through something like that and you've accepted it and you've learned from it, it's kind of, the world is wonderful, and I try to enjoy it as much as I can. I mean, seeing new things, eating new things, meeting new people. I relish it more than I did when I was younger.
So, okay, just a closing comment. If you look over this whole story of Rinpoche's, what he's doing now, what he's going to be doing, and what he's kind of gone through, do you have any last comments about how his whole life has been and is turning out?
It's his life, it's his road, and he selected it, and he's doing what he wants to with what he has. So I think he's very content and very happy, and he's just working on what he needs to do. Mm-hmm. And not many people have that luxury to be able to do that. So I think he's very fortunate, and I think he's very happy, and I'm very happy for him because he can do what he really loves. Mm-hmm. And not many of us can do that.
Yes, this is true. Well, people are scared to even, maybe.
Anything worthwhile is a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
That's what I keep telling my daughter.
Do you have any message that you'd like to say to Rinpoche? That we can film and show him when we go home?
No, because I'd rather say it to his eyes. So hopefully we'll be in China next year and we can stop by and I can talk to him. And you know me, I'm a people person. Yes. I'd like to look at your face and look at your eyes and not, you know, all this tech stuff I can do and it's all nice, but it's not me. Mm-hmm. I'm more of a hands-on type of person.
Okay.
So I'd like to save that for when I actually see him.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes.